and welcome back to 2025, and we're gonna kick off the year. I know it's been a little bit since I've done video content on the channel outside of the podcast. Obviously I was on holiday break, but we're gonna kick off today with the Marble Gallery 2024 Game of the Year stuff, as I do every year. I have different categories that I go over before I unveil my top 10 list of the best games I played in 2024 and the best movies I watched in 2024. This year's no exception. We're going to kick off with what I consider to be the biggest mess of 2024, and I'm going to be upfront honest about this one. It's going to be controversial because this is something that's been going on all year. It affects pretty much every facet of video games. And another thing is, this really spilled out into like politics and real world stuff in a way that typically doesn't come up in this category. Like usually this category, when we go over biggest mess, you know, it's like, oh, this studio really did this stupid thing or something like that. But this year brought back the return of Gamergate, specifically Gamergate 2. And I don't think I can even quantify anything else as a bigger mess in 2024 than Gamergate 2.0, which basically became almost this like culture war between just regular video gamers, YouTubers that cover video games, and then the access media. So, you know, folks like IGN and Kotaku and stuff like that. And this has been going on. Honestly, it really started at the end of 2023, but I would say when it exploded was around February of last year, so almost a year ago. And it exploded specifically with known, vile, awful, terrible former blogger of Kotaku, because I hate using the word journalist because I don't feel like this person was actually a journalist, but Alyssa Mercante, who contacted a YouTuber's wife on YouTube, basically just trying to rile up in his marriage, because this guy posted a video calling out that he wanted Kotaku to go away, which in the gaming community, I'm not gonna lie, like most of us would like to see Kotaku go away. It's a terrible fucking publication. The people that are there are just dreadful at this point. They have terrible opinions on everything. They are lean only one direction politically. And if you even have a sense of, I'm not even gonna say like if you are someone that leans maybe towards the right, but like if you're somebody that even is like in the center, then you're a terrible fucking person because you don't agree with their extremist left ideas. Kotaku is a shell of what it was even a decade ago. And it has been like this for a long time, but it exploded in 2024. This situation has gotten so out of control, there's actually a lawsuit between YouTuber Smash JT and Alyssa Mercante, and it just spilled over into every facet of games in 2024. And the reason I call it the biggest mess is because when you look at the game industry in 2024, we have not seen such a volatile year for games in a long time. Like I can't remember since maybe the crash in the 80s, it's been this bad. Multiple high, big budget profile games have failed, and a lot of it has to do with what's been going on in Gamergate. Not every facet of it. Like it's easy to point and look at something like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. That was the first high profile failure in 2024. And yes, a lot of people are going to point and say, well, they worked with that DEI company, Sweet Baby, and that's the issue. And like, that is a part of it. And I think people that don't recognize that DEI and Sweet Baby are a part of the issue in the video game industry right now are being foolish. But I also at the same time think the people that think that is the sole problem in the game industry are also being foolish, because there's a lot more going on for why these games are failing than just that. But it does contribute to a portion of it. And that was the first high profile game of the year that failed, was Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. The other really, really big one that I can point to that was a massive failure. I mean, there were smaller profile ones. We had the Concord situation. I was very close. I'd say if I were to pick a runner up, I didn't even want to pick a runner up in this category because I feel like this is the most important. But I would pick Concord. But even Concord dabbled in this stuff a little bit, so bad that Sony pulled that game. Which you never ever see that happen. But putting this aside, we saw some other failures throughout the year that had these issues. There are smaller scale games like Dustborn, for example, I can throw out as one that's really, really wild that like nobody played. Nobody wanted the game. But the biggest profile failure outside of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League by far has to be Dragon Age. I keep wanting to say Inquisition. That was the last good one. Dragon Age The Veilguard, which, yeah, I admit I was a fan of Dragon Age. I played all of them, including Inquisition, and I was excited for this game back when it was called Dreadwolf, and it was going to continue the story events of the last game before they changed the direction completely, changed it to The Veilguard. And again, well, the game is filled with a lot of bullshit that a lot of people just don't want to interact with. There are other problems with the game. Like visually, it looks terrible. It has this like Fortnite art style that does not look good. There are certain like character types. They completely changed what those character types look like to fit this game. It's just a mash of it's awful. And it massively failed. Gamers voted with their wallet. I'll say in no year I can remember that did gamers vote with their wallet more than they did in 2024, because we saw failure after failure after failure. We have other studios like Ubisoft that's on the brink of literal destruction. Like Tencent or somebody's probably going to come in and buy Ubisoft. They're so scared to release Assassin's Creed Shadow that they delayed it out of last year into February. Now it's coming out maybe March 20th. At the time of this recording, that might change, but that's a high profile release that has to land and has to make money for Ubisoft, or that company as a whole is not going to be the Ubisoft that you know and remember. They're going to go away. And this all stems back to this whole Gamergate thing. Like, it exploded in 2024 in a way that I thought this would be a thing that would last maybe 2 to 3 months and it would go away. And the fact that I'm standing here now a year later and we're still in this Gamergate 2 culture war is really kind of crazy. So there is no bigger mess in 2024. It's still ongoing. It's not over. And it's really going to be interesting in 2025 to see like what that does for the landscape of games in the year 2025. Like, are we going to see more high profile failures here? You know, when Assassin's Creed does come out, is it going to fail or will it do good? In a couple of weeks here from the time of this recording, Avowed's going to come out. Avowed supposedly might have some stuff that upsets people. Is that game going to be a failure? I would argue that game will probably... I hope it does well. I'm interested. I'm going to play it. We're going to talk about it on the channel, but I hope it does well because I think it looks cool, and Microsoft needs another win after Indiana Jones, but I would argue that game probably could fail, but a lot of that has to do with Microsoft just isn't marketing the game, and we're 3 weeks away from launch at the time of this recording. So, but I'd love to know in the comments below, what do you think was the biggest mess in 2024? Did I hit the nail on the head? Or do you think there was something worse? Let me know. And remember, as always, to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.